Huh. Fools. They never thought you'd make it out alive. They built the story with your collapse as the ending. Every whisper, every setup, every smiling face hiding a blade, every move was calculated to make sure you'd disappear before the credits rolled. But here you are, breathing, glowing, walking proof that the impossible doesn't die. It adapts. You weren't supposed to be here. Your survival rewrote the entire script. That's why they're panicking now. Because your existence exposes their conspiracy. They didn't just fail, they failed publicly. And your heartbeat is the evidence. You weren't meant to rise because your rise exposes everything they wanted buried. They thought your pain would paralyze you. They thought your heartbreak would hollow you out. They thought betrayal would make you beg for help. But they forgot something. They were dealing with someone born from fire. Someone who bleeds persistence and inhales chaos like oxygen. They didn't understand that breaking you was never an option. It was a ritual, a test, and you passed it without even knowing it. That's what drives them mad now. You're walking around with the calm of someone who survived coordinated destruction, and they can't process it. Picture it. Entire groups of people who can't even agree on what they want for dinner, suddenly finding unity in one thing, your downfall. Co-workers who couldn't stand each other suddenly sharing secrets about you. Family who smiled at you on Sunday, whispering curses by Tuesday. Former lovers pretending to check in, when in truth they're carrying messages from the enemy camp. They created a coalition of envy, a spiritual cartel of jealousy, and even with all that collective effort, they still couldn't finish you. They spent nights plotting, days pretending, all to watch you stand taller than ever. You weren't just their target, you were their obsession. They studied your weaknesses like scientists. They rewound your old mistakes like footage in a lab. They even rehearsed your reactions, trying to predict your next move. But you didn't move logically. You moved divinely. Every time they thought they cornered you, destiny shifted the walls. Every time they launched a trap, the timing flipped in your favor. You weren't surviving by luck. You were surviving by alignment. And that's what terrifies them. They can't explain how you keep dodging what should have destroyed you. At first they thought it was coincidence. Then it became pattern. Then it became fear. Because one by one they started realizing that every weapon formed against you backfired. Every whisper turned into exposure. Every curse looped back as consequence. Their own alliances began cracking under the weight of karma. That's when they knew this wasn't normal. This was supernatural. You see, they didn't just attack your reputation. They tried to break your energy. They wanted your mind fractured, your confidence drained, your spirit offline. They wanted you exhausted, confused, questioning your worth. That's why they used isolation. It's the oldest trick in psychological warfare. They wanted you surrounded by silence, so their lies could echo louder. But they underestimated what happens when a chosen one gets alone. You don't go crazy, you go deeper. You start hearing the frequency they tried to drown out. You start remembering who you were before manipulation rewired your faith. That's when your energy changed. That's when the air around you began to shift. They could feel it, even before they saw it. The same people who mocked your breakdowns now stare at your breakthroughs like they're witnessing sorcery. You're not supposed to glow like that after being buried alive. You're not supposed to speak that clearly after being gaslit for years. You're not supposed to love again after being betrayed that brutally. But you did. And that's why they whisper now. Because you're not supposed to exist at this level. They called you crazy, delusional, unstable. They needed labels to make their guilt make sense. But your healing became their haunting. Every time you breathe in peace, it feels like thunder in their chest. Every time you post, succeed, smile, it burns through the illusion they built around you. They thought you'd stay small enough to control, quiet enough to erase. Instead, you became a walking confession of their failure. Understand this: their unity was never about power. It was about fear. They sensed your potential long before you did. Your very energy reminded them of everything they buried in themselves: truth, integrity, courage, light. They weren't trying to destroy you. They were trying to destroy the reflection you forced them to see. Because when you stand in your full strength, their weakness becomes visible. And humans will do anything to avoid seeing what they've suppressed, even destroy the mirror. That's why they joined forces. That's why enemies became allies. That's why people who never met suddenly shared the same script. You became the project, the experiment, the obsession. They wanted to test how much light one person could withstand before breaking. They wanted to prove that purity is fragile, that goodness doesn't survive cruelty. But the outcome betrayed them. Because the more they attacked, the more you evolved. You didn't just resist their darkness, you converted it into discipline. You didn't just survive their betrayal, you refined your discernment. Every setup became training. Every heartbreak became armor. Look closely, and you'll see it now. They're glitching. Their guilt is leaking through their performances. They speak softer when your name comes up. They shift in their seats when your success plays on their screen. They tell others they've moved on. But their eyes betray the obsession. They're still watching, still calculating, still wondering how you're breathing in the ruins they designed. And the truth is, you're not just breathing, you're building. They thought taking your circle would break your strength. But solitude became your laboratory. You learned how to operate without validation, how to thrive without applause. You turned loneliness into strategy. And now that you've learned to walk without crutches, they realize they were never needed. They were weight. Your detachment is what frightens them most now. You no longer need them, their approval, their recognition. They lost psychological control, and that's something they'll never forgive. You were supposed to self-destruct. Instead, you reconstructed. You were supposed to fade quietly. Instead, you became loud in your stillness. You were supposed to disappear. Instead, your energy multiplied. They can't understand it because their logic is linear. But your journey was quantum. They don't get how pain turned to power, how betrayal turned to blueprint, how isolation became initiation. They don't get that divinely chosen souls are built from paradox. They break patterns by breaking expectations. And now the same people who laughed at your breakdowns are trying to imitate your healing. They steal your phrases, your style, your essence, hoping some of that strength rubs off. But power can't be plagiarized. Your energy can't be duplicated because it's not performance, it's precision. You didn't rehearse this, you earned this. You lived through what they could never imagine and came back coherent, calm, commanding. You carry the kind of vibration that makes liars choke on their own words. That's not charisma, that's consequence. Remember how they used to look at you? Pity, mockery, superiority. Now they look with curiosity, fear, awe. Because the energy shifted. You went from target to template, from scapegoat to standard, from outcast to oracle. And that evolution happened right under their watchful eyes. They tried to humiliate you publicly. Now your very existence humiliates them spiritually. You were their experiment gone wrong, their failure they can't explain. And it's poetic justice, isn't it? The same mouths that once spread your downfall now repeat your quotes. The same people who warned others to stay away now study your mindset like scripture. The same ones who said you were finished now imitate your discipline, your calm, your voice. They don't understand that every attempt to destroy you only upgraded your design. They threw chaos. You learned structure. They spread lies. You built truth. They blocked paths. You created your own. They didn't just underestimate you. They underestimated divine timing. Because the universe doesn't waste warriors. When you survived what they thought would kill you, cosmic balance shifted. Your pain became permission for the next phase. Every wound turned into access. You became fluent in energy. You learned to sense deception before it spoke, to feel danger before it appeared. That's not paranoia. That's awareness earned through suffering. You're not fearful. You're fluent in human nature now. That's what scares them most. You see through everything. Their charm, their manipulation, their pity. Plays, it doesn't work anymore. Your intuition evolved into a weapon sharper than any knife they once hid behind their smiles. You read tone like scripture, body language like prophecy. They can't infiltrate you anymore because you're not reactive, you're responsive. You don't fight with emotion now, you fight with awareness. And awareness always wins. This is why your survival rattled their entire ecosystem. You've proven that coordinated betrayal can't override divine coding. You've shown that unity built on envy collapses under truth. You've become the variable they can't calculate. And now, their obsession has turned into exhaustion. Some are still pretending to hate you, but secretly they admire you. Others act indifferent, but they're studying your every move. Even the ones who once led the attacks now whisper your name, like it's both curse and prayer. But don't be fooled. Some of them will return. They'll disguise their motives as apologies, their regret as healing. They'll say they've changed, that they've learned. But watch their patterns, not their words. Because people don't transform overnight. They reveal themselves slowly under pressure. Your job now isn't revenge, it's remembrance. Remember who stood against you. Remember who doubted you. Remember who tried to weaponize your pain. And remember that forgiveness doesn't require access. You're no longer in their league. You're not fighting on the same field. They're still stuck in gossip. You're moving in legacy. They're still playing human chess. You're building empires. That's why you can't go back. You can't dim down to make them comfortable again. You can't explain miracles to people addicted to manipulation. They don't deserve the blueprint you bled for. So stand tall. Own what they tried to erase. Let them watch you thrive through the very energy they once cursed. Every success of yours is a sermon to their failure. Every move you make in peace is a reminder that divine protection is louder than public perception. You're not here by accident, you're here by assignment. And just when they think you've reached your peak, they'll realize something even darker. You're not done evolving. You're not done revealing. You've only been warming up. Because your survival wasn't the victory, it was the warning. The signal that the impossible doesn't stay buried. That the chosen don't just rise, they return transformed. So keep your focus steady. The air is shifting again. The watchers are multiplying, the whispers getting frantic, the energy tightening. They can sense it, even if they don't understand it. Something's coming, something they can't control. can't manipulate, can't block. You feel it too, don't you? The pulse building beneath the surface. Because this wasn't the end of their plan. It was just the beginning of your power. And what happens next, what's about to unfold, will make everything they've done look like practice. The air trembles now. You can feel the frequency shift like a countdown hidden under your ribs. The watchers sense it too, the tremor of something awakening that no calculation can predict. They're panicking behind their smiles, because your calm is louder than their schemes. Every step you take without fear dismantles months of their coordination. They're realizing too late that the plan they worshipped is already dissolving in real time. Because what's coming next isn't revenge, it's revelation. And revelation changes everything. They spent so long rehearsing your downfall that they forgot to prepare for your rebirth. The scripts they wrote don't fit anymore. The stories they told collapse under the weight of your new reality. You're not the same person they plotted against. You're rebuilt, recalibrated, rewritten by the universe itself. They thought breaking you would erase you, but all it did was refine your purpose. You've become a living contradiction, someone they can't destroy and can't define. That's the kind of threat that terrifies control freaks. Now the whispers sound different. They don't talk with certainty anymore. They talk with tremors. Their voices crack because they know the energy is reversing. The same mouth that cursed you is tasting consequence. The same hand that sabotaged you shakes when it reaches for peace. They're haunted by what they can't undo. Because your survival didn't just protect you, it sentenced them. Every action has a return address, and your spirit was the mirror they mailed their hatred to. Now the reflection is arriving, and you walk through it untouched. You've learned how to see darkness without absorbing it. That's supernatural power, control over perception. You no longer flinch at gossip, no longer panic at betrayal. You move like water around obstacles, like fire through barriers. They don't understand how someone so wounded moves with such precision. But pain trained you in ways comfort never could. Every breakdown rewired your instincts. Every lie sharpened your discernment. What they meant for disorientation became your education. Let's expose the truth they keep avoiding. This wasn't chaos. It was choreography. Every person who betrayed you was a pawn placed to activate a part of your power. The fake friends were teachers of boundaries. The jealous co-workers were catalysts for excellence. The family traitors were mirrors of your unhealed lineage. Every sting was a signal. Every attack was an initiation. You were never being destroyed. You were being drafted into mastery. That's why nothing they did could end you. You were being constructed inside the collapse. Look at them now. The same ones who mocked your prayers are now lighting candles, hoping for mercy. The same ones who mocked your energy work are Googling protection rituals at 3 a.m. They laughed when you spoke about intuition. Now they pay for readings just to understand why karma feels like quicksand. That's poetic justice in motion. You didn't lift a finger. You didn't need to. The universe simply synchronized the consequences. You became untouchable because you surrendered control. You let truth handle what ego once wanted to fight. But make no mistake, your rise is not random. It's surgical. Every opportunity finding you now was coded long before their sabotage began. They thought they were closing doors, but each betrayal opened the one you were meant to walk through. Every delay recalibrated your timeline to precision, and now, as you ascend, their illusion of power crumbles. They thought they had influence. They didn't realize they were only proving your invincibility, because the harder they pressed, the brighter you burned. You're not lucky, you're aligned. Luck fades, alignment multiplies. That's why they can't replicate your outcomes. They copy your style, your tone, your language, but the energy doesn't translate. They post like you, dress like you, even quote your words. But something's missing, authentic resonance. You can't fake frequency. You either earned it or you didn't. And they didn't. They watched the transformation, but skipped the suffering. They want the crown without the crucible. That's why they'll always fall short. Now they're trying a new tactic, pretending to root for you. Fake support disguised as maturity. I always knew they'd make it, they say, hoping proximity might rewrite history. But energy never lies. Their applause vibrates like envy in disguise. You can feel it. That's why you keep your distance. Because you've learned that not everyone who claps is a friend. Some just want a front row seat to study your light. And this time, you're not sharing the stage. Your boundaries have become holy ground. You guard your energy like sacred fire, and that discipline is driving them insane. They can't feed on you anymore. They can't provoke you into reactions that lower your vibration. They can't access the version of you that used to explain, defend, justify. That version died in the war they started. The new you speaks only in results. The new you glows without warning. The new you forgives, but never reopens doors. That's the real miracle. Peace after persecution. You're noticing patterns faster now. You can feel deceit like static before words are spoken. You see right through the rehearsed empathy, the strategic vulnerability, the sudden nostalgia. They're testing the perimeter, looking for cracks in your confidence. But your field is sealed. Every lesson reinforced it. You no longer chase understanding from people committed to confusion. You no longer translate truth for ears allergic to accountability. You simply move, quietly, powerfully, inevitably. And that movement terrifies them more than any confrontation ever could. The gossip doesn't sting anymore. It's just background noise. You've outgrown the frequency of victimhood. They can no longer bait you into defending what's self-evident. You are proof. You are evidence. Your peace is testimony. That's what kills their narrative. It's impossible to debate outcomes that radiate. And no matter how much they try to rewrite the past, the universe keeps projecting receipts. Every win of yours is time-stamped divine. So when they gossip now, it isn't power.